We are in a series titled More Than Love. For those of you who have been with us 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we started this series. We were a little bit interrupted, but the idea of this series, it's a relationship series. We are focusing on romantic relationships, but these principles apply to every relationship. So if you're not in a romantic relationship right now, if you're even not looking to, right? If you're committed to being single, God bless you. There's no stigma in that. But you can apply this to your family relationships or other types of relationships. So they're a part of this message that we're going to share, this conversation, that we're going to focus on marriage, we're going to focus on romantic relationships, but you can apply that to other areas as well. And the idea of more than love is that there are things beyond love that we ought to practice. There are things beyond love that we ought to engage with so that love can stay healthy. Because how many of you know that love can get sick? Love can get sick with jealousy. Love can get sick with resentment. Love can get sick with all sorts of things to where even love can become toxic in a way, where you can become protective, controlling, jealous, hyperactive, all sorts of things, right? Neurotic. You've seen examples of it, and if not in your stories. And our goal for this series is to make sure that we give you tools, biblical tools, for love to stay healthy. So, healthy communication, which is our focus today, is one of those things that maintain love, that keep love healthy between relationships. And healthy communication is often overlooked. Many people, they forego communication because they don't want the drama. They forego communication because they want to avoid the tension. So in order to keep the peace, we convince ourselves that if we don't address the issue, we will keep the peace. We convince ourselves that we're taking an honorable route, and so a noble route, and we try not to address things. And sometimes, sure, you need to let it go. Sometimes the problem is one of those problems that you need to let it go. But most times, it's better to address it, even if you feel like, oh, this is something I have to deal with. It's my thing, it's my doing, or this is something she or he has to deal with. It's his thing, it's his doing. It's still important to talk about it, to be honest, to bring it to the table, and to share.
Yes, because you will behave a certain way when there's things going on in your life, right? You will react in a different way. You will begin to have this expression, the outcome of yourself, even if it's something you need to deal with. The expression of your behavior will affect your partner, or your friend, or a family member, or whoever. And so sometimes the communication is more an FYI than it is I need you to help me. Ever had those, do you want me to fix that, or do you want me to just listen? Movies like the partner will say, do you want me to fix that, or you just want me to listen? The truth is, in communication, if you're not sharing the things that are going on in your life as well, when your behavior is odd, your partner, your friend, your parent will feel like it's their fault.
Yeah.
But it's not their fault. It's you're going through something. And so that is kind of influencing the way you behave.
Yes.
Right? So it's important to share, regardless, to share your life. That's the point. And that's the point of life.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't live it lonely, but to share our lives with others.
And the reason why we're going to encourage you today throughout this conversation to promote healthy communication in your relationships, however uncomfortable that might make you, is because of the benefits that are sometimes even hidden in it. Healthy communication promotes unity. Not one conversation, but a culture of healthy communication in your relationship. If you establish a culture, after weeks, months, you will see the benefit. It promotes unity. It promotes intimacy. It promotes harmony. It helps you overcome conflict. And healthy communication really keeps love healthy. And one of the things that we sometimes overlook is also the effect of poor communication. Because it's not that if you don't communicate, nothing changes. If you don't practice healthy communication, resentment builds in. And resentment can be a very sneaky thing in your heart, sometimes it sneaks in without you noticing, because it sneaks in as a sense of self-righteousness. Sometimes you feel resentment, but you don't identify it as resentment. Resentment comes in identifying as self-righteousness, right? You think you're right. So you begin to, machinations in your brain begin to happen. Why that person did this, why that happened, and we're going to get into some of that. But it's really important. I really want to get from this to the outset the importance of addressing and identifying resentment properly, because resentment can cause all sorts of pains. Resentment can cloud your judgment. It can make your soul sick, and resentment makes you bitter. If you've ever been through a season where you felt like you were not yourself, either in a relationship or even within yourself, you felt like, man, this is not me. I'm waking up in the morning, I feel bitter, I feel like it's strange. I'm a happy, joyous person. I'm usually at peace. But now, people talk to me, they upset me, I get angry, I want to yell at somebody, I want to, show them some of my fingers when I'm driving, Don't do that. This one is great. I read an article that was talking about, there was a whole article about this one simple thing, that people get a lot more upset when you do thumbs down than when you do the other thing, because they feel like thumbs down, it means they're just disapproval, boo. And that really gets on their nerves. So I'm not trying to give you tools, okay? Here, please. I'm just...
Can I drive like this?
Yeah. But sometimes you get to that place like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I see myself feeling like this more often than I should. And so that's why we need to identify resentment, because it makes you bitter.
Yeah, and resentment leads to those big no-nos that we know in relationships, right? If you're talking about a marital relationship, talking about affairs, you're talking about addictions, you're talking about substance abuse.
Divorce.
Yeah. But in other relationships, it also leads to depression and to loneliness. It leads you to separate yourself from that person that's in your life that, is meant to contribute, to add, to help you grow and to do life with you. But because you have stored up resentment, it produces a separation between you and that person.
Yeah.
And that separation actually ends up affecting you more than anything else.
Yeah.
It makes you close up. It makes you it increases the bitterness, and bitterness only grows. It doesn't shrink by leaving it. Time does not heal all wounds. That's a lie. What it does do is it becomes a root in your heart, and then one issue turns into several issues, and then several issues turns in, I never want to speak to them again.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we catch resentment at its beginning stages and not let it fester.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how we deal with it in our marriage. We're going to get personal today and share a few tools that have worked for us in our marriage. And one of the things that we do that's simple, that everyone can do, whether it's a marriage relationship or a friendship or a parental sibling, because sometimes relationships are not the easiest, right? You might have a parent or a son, a daughter, someone in your family, a brother, a sister, that you don't really see eye to eye in everything. And it takes 3 sentences for the conversation to get terrible. And right now it's just become the status quo. But if you go back to the beginning where it all began, it was probably resentment that was undealt, that was not dealt with, communication that was not had. And now the pattern has already gone off the rails. And for us, the way that we maintain our relationship is to make sure that from time to time, we have moments where we air our grievances. These are not on schedule, right? Today, Tuesday the 6th, we're going to talk about our grievances. It's whenever the need arises. Now, something really important is the timing.
Yeah,
right?
Because, look, let's be real. Women, I'm going to talk to the women in the room for a second.
Ooh.
We don't like to say this.
Poor
We
timing.
don't like to hear this. No, this is the right time. We don't like to say this or hear this, but the reality is that there are days in the month where if you talk to us the wrong way, or if you look at us the wrong way, we will snap in a different way. Right? It's true. This is not because we are bad. This is not because we are emotional beings. But the truth is, physiologically speaking, we are designed in certain ways. We have hormonal ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
And so, if you try to have a conversation with your spouse or with a friend at the wrong time, you will explode instead of converse.
Yeah.
You will throw up on them because you're tired of it, right? You will give them everything instead of actually having a dialogue, instead of coming with practical mind, an open mind to even understand their side of the conversation. So timing does matter. Do not have conversations like my husband always, no, I'm kidding, like my husband tries to have with me at 10:30 at night when I'm about to go to sleep.
Only happened like 30 times.
At 10:30 at night, I have shut down. I will not talk to you about anything. Nothing I say will make sense. Right? Timing matters. Timing matters on having these conversations. So what do?
Yeah.
You know yourself enough to say to your spouse, to your friend, like, hey, I really want to have this conversation with you, but I'm going to be honest with you. At this moment, my emotions are everywhere. And if I have this conversation, I'm not going to say what I mean. I'm going to say what I feel.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling a certain way, I'm going to hurt you. Be honest with them. Right? Timing matters. So you bring it up to the person at the right time. If you feel like it's not the right time to have the conversation, don't sweep it under the rug and say, I tried. They didn't want to have the conversation. No. But go, hey, okay, let's talk about a time that we can have this conversation because I really need to talk to you about it.
Now, this is where intentionality plays a beautiful part, because you can listen to this and think, okay, I have a way out. Right? I could just say, this is not the right time, and never have the conversation. Don't do that. You have to see the importance of healthy communication and value it to the point that your partner can trust you to know that if you're saying now it's not the right time, it's not because you're avoiding it. It's not the right time because it's not the right time. Now, Alini mentioned the rhythms of hormones and all of that. You know, men also we have those rhythms too. It's not as apparent in our biology. Women's biology were made for reproduction in a different way that men's biology were made for reproduction. We also have different rhythms, different things, ebbs and flows, where it's sometimes it's just not the right time. You know, those hormonal ebbs and flows, they serve a purpose. They're good. They're not bad. We try to fit our lives into a system of production and work, and and anything that comes outside of that, we think it's wrong. It's not wrong. You know, not all of us were made to stay at a desk from 9 to 5 every day. That can affect you wrong. There are days that you're just not supposed to do that, but you still have to. So, you know, we suck it up and do it. Mm-hmm. But it's not like your biology was meant for that. There are other things, too, that there's certain parts of the month or the weeks, your senses are heightened for other things. Sometimes for protection, sometimes for nourishment, sometimes for production. And so it's really important to get in tune with that. And as your relationship progresses through the years, you'll begin to realize that.
Yeah, and so the way to start a conversation is this a good time to talk about?
Yeah, simply understanding that, right?
Is this a good time to talk about blank? And then let your spouse, your friend, or whatever tell you whether that's a good time to have that conversation or not. And if not, when is a good time?
Yeah. So we have a scripture for you today. Colossians chapter 4, verse 6 says this: let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. You know, Paul here is giving us a very important instruction. It is in a conversation, in a dialogue, in a relationship, it's important for the communicator, the person who is bringing up the subject, to know how to begin a conversation, how you start, right? Do you start from the boiling point? Do you start from, a place of frustration? Do you start from resentment? Where do you start from? So we want to get a little practical today and give you some tools. And I have this coin that I brought. Are everybody familiar with a quarter? You know a quarter has two sides, right? And it doesn't matter which side you see, you know that it's a quarter. But he needs both sides. If you ever see a quarter that has the same side on both sides, it's not real. It needs both sides to have its value and to have its full value. Two sides of a coin make the coin full. It completes it. In the same way, for healthy communication has two sides: thoughtfulness and respect. Those two things are really important in healthy communication. You have to imbue your communication with thoughtfulness and respect. And I'd love to see the Spanish translation for imbue.
I'll speak up for most women in the room. Women lean on thoughtfulness, right? You can tell us how much you love us until you're blue in the face. Mm-hmm. But if you're not thoughtful, if you're not listening to what I say to you, how I've been expressing things, or what I've asked you, or if you don't remember a few things that I've shared with you, then what you're telling me is that I'm second in your book and therefore you don't really love me. Mm. Women receive love as thoughtfulness, right? The expression of that love means you are paying attention to me. What I'm saying to you is registering, and you are responding. Even if you enjoy it or don't enjoy it, if it's the way you would do it or not the way you would do it, like it doesn't, right? You are loving me the way I need to be loved. And for most women, that is thoughtfulness, right? So if I tell my husband, hey, I need you to pick up some coffee on the way home. And if he comes home and go, oh, babe, I forgot, I'm sorry. First time, it's okay. I don't think he doesn't love me. Maybe. Second time, third time, bro.
Yeah.
I've asked you to do something like
Mama needs her coffee.
Mama needs coffee. Right? But I mean, those things, they're little, they're not big, but those things are what add up and demonstrate to me that you care about my needs. Your thoughtfulness matters. And for women, on the most part, the expression or the way they receive that love is your thoughtfulness to what she's doing, saying, like you're watching her, not in a creepy way, but you're watching her to know how to respond and to love her the way she would feel loved.
Yeah. And for a man, the other side of the coin, that is most important in communication is really respect. And you can talk to any man at any level, in any age. The way that a man understands love is through respect. You might as well say that for a man, respect is love. It's really important for him. So if we're talking about healthy communication, right? Communication goes beyond just verbal. It's not just what you say. It's how you say. It's how you express yourself. A hug is communication. How you present yourself is communication, right? How you look or roll your eyes, that's all part of communication. And if a man is trying to have a conversation with you, especially if it's your husband, and he's trying to express himself and trying to find the words, if the reaction is disrespectful, if the response is disrespectful, you might want to make your point in a moment of tension. But if it's disrespectful, you're going to shut him down because he's going to feel unloved. It's really important. This extends to all kinds of relationships with males. Fathers, brothers, sons, co-workers. If your boss is a male, if your employee is a male, and you want to show some love, trust me, go through the route of respect, show that man respect, and you will see. Even if it's two brothers, right? Even if you're talking about a friend and you're a male and you want to show your bro some love, show some respect and you'll see. Yeah. So these two things, thoughtfulness and respect, it's important to see them as guiding principles. Sometimes especially if you're task-driven, you put it in your head, okay, I got to do this. All right. And then it becomes mechanical. It might need to start that way if the relationship is very unhealthy. You might need to remind yourself, but you got to get to the point where you see the value in it, where you embrace it as a principle, where you understand that both respect and thoughtfulness are essential for your life. It makes you better, right? It makes your relationship better. It elevates every part of your life. And if you have a spouse, particularly, and your relationship and your communication is always thoughtful and always respectful, no matter what you go through, there's a sense of trust and health in that relationship, that there's no issue you can't talk about. You understand this? Many times conversations are not had because you begin to play that in your head and you think there's not going to be thoughtfulness, there's not going to be respect. Things are going to go off the rails, and I just don't want to talk about that. I just don't want to go there. Sometimes you want to talk about it, right? You just don't want to talk about it that way. Yeah. So if you create a culture of thoughtfulness and respect, then you open up your heart, your relationship, your home for healthy conversations, and you can address and face anything with those two things.
Can I just add, respect is not just shown to the person, but also when you're talking about the person.
Great.
Both respect and thoughtfulness, okay? I have seen countless women, countless men bash their significant other. I mean, bash them. And you know what runs through my mind? Well, what does that say about you? You married him.
Very
thoughtful. I'm just saying, if you think you married an idiot, what does that say about you?
Yeah.
You hitched yourself to that idiot. I'm just saying, look, the way you speak about your significant other, the way you speak about your friend, your best friend, and then you're bashing your best friend, the way you speak about those people that you're meant to love, the way you demonstrate thoughtfulness or respect about them when you're with some other people. Yeah. When you're, like if you're bashing them behind their back, that's not love. That's not respect. That's not thoughtfulness. Like that matters too. And I know we have our safe places to vent, but there is a way to vent in which you don't demoralize somebody else.
Yeah, that's very good.
There's a way to vent in which you go, look, I am struggling with this. There are things that, my significant other is doing or my friend is doing that I'm not okay with. I don't know how to deal with it. Like you can discuss that with somebody that you trust and not bash them.
Yeah.
So that matters too. It's not just the way you treat them, but it's the way you refer to them with others as well.
I've been in circles and co-workers and jobs that I've had in the past where married men, this would be a daily occurrence, and they would find it strange that I would never complain about my wife. First of all, if I have a complaint, I'll go to her, right? If there's something that's bothering me, I'll go to her. I'm not going to go to him or them. Who are they? I don't trust them with my marriage, right? If they're treating their marriage that way, you're the last person I want to talk to about my wife. But there is a culture in the world where it's really acceptable for a man to feel a sense of superiority by diminishing their spouse. And I just want to speak to you against that, because those men did not walk down the aisle and vow their lives to you. Those men are not willing to put their body through childbirth to give you a child. Those men are not going to be there in the thick of it fighting for you if you ever get sick. None of them are worth your life. Your wife is worth your life. And so do not engage in that. If you need to vent, find brothers in arms who will encourage you to be in a healthy marriage. If you need to vent, and if you need counsel, find good counsel. And if you have something to address, do it in a healthy way. Don't be a coward and go vomit at somebody else. Do it in a healthy way and honor your spouse by resolving issues in a healthy way in a home environment. So the practical here is let respect and thoughtfulness filter your words when you speak about and to your spouse. Let respect and thoughtfulness shape the way you see your spouse. You see, it begins with your words, but it really has to get to the point where you see them with respect and thoughtfulness. And if you're at a place right now where in your heart so much has happened that you disrespect your spouse, your significant other, your friend, you got to get to a place of health to the point where you regain that. And respect is hard to rebuild. I get that. But don't allow your heart to continue going down that track of disrespect, because the relationship will inevitably dissolve if you do that. There is there's a line when you go beyond that line when it comes to respect that you can't come back from. And it's really important I can't stress this point enough, to let respect shape the way you see the other person.
And don't demand respect, but be somebody worthy of respect.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're acting foolish each and every day, and then you want your spouse to respect you, you're supposed to respect me. Remember what the pastor said. Like, bro, you have to act in a way that also garnishes that respect, because she's looking for something to respect you on. Like, we don't want to be married to people we don't respect.
It's true.
I don't want to be in a relationship of any kind with anybody that I don't respect, at work or, Like, so do things that we can grasp onto, or that we can hold on to and say, that's worthy, like, that's respectable.
Yeah.
Right? Behave
that's how you nurture. You carry your responsibility, right? To be thoughtful and to be respectful. And you bring that to the relationship. And there's an agreement and an understanding where if you both bring that to the relationship, then healthy communication can flourish and love will be healthy. So we're going to talk about 3 communication pitfalls that you ought to avoid. And this is really important. The first communication pitfall, honey, what do you think it is?
You always try to talk to me at 10:30 at night when I don't want to talk anymore.
That's right. I never do that. Ever.
You always put your shoes where I don't want you to put them.
It's getting too real. I never do that.
Avoid making general statements like you always, you never, you are always doing this and you're never doing that, and everything you say is this and everything is that, and everyone.
Yes.
Is it always? Is it never? That immediately your argument has fallacies, right? Yeah. Immediately your whole argument is shot, because nothing is always and nothing is, ever. Yeah. Like, there is a time that he did something that you didn't like. There's a time she did something you didn't like. Give an example. Be thoughtful in the way you conversate. Yeah. Converse. I don't know what the word is. Like, think about an actual thing that bothered you. Yeah. Think about, if you're going to have this communication, if you're going to talk to them, like, look, yesterday, we got home, and I had cleaned the house, and then I saw your clothes outside of the laundry bin. Why was it there? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this real example. I'm just telling you guys, that's one thing you can say.
That's point 3. That's the third pitfall.
Wait, I'll get that.
Before
that's the
before the third pitfall. Here's the second pitfall. So the first one is avoid making general statements. That's really important. Second one, avoid passive communication. Right? Passive communication is when you want your spouse to just get it. Right? They just need to get it. And why aren't they getting it? I'm not going to spell it out for you. Just need to get it. So you wake up in a crabby mood, or all of a sudden you switch your mood, and the other person is supposed to guess. Right? What's going on? I don't know.
Go ahead.
Where do you want to eat?
I don't know.
Yeah. Why? Who is being the passive one here? I was arming myself to be the passive. Do you want to be the passive one?
Like, there are enough examples about passive.
I'll say this.
Say what you need to say.
I'll say this. In our relationship, Alini grew up in an environment where everyone is very direct. And so, as you can tell by when she speaks and preaches, she's a direct person, and I really appreciate that. I love direct people. But I grew up in an environment where you kind of go around, Gentleness was of a heightened value in my home, and, it's a fruit of the Spirit. I vouch for gentleness. But at the same time, it gives you the opportunity to be passive. And in the beginning of our marriage, I would try to work things out in my head for a long period of time beyond healthy, before actually addressing something, because I thought if I'm direct, I'm going to cause more damage than not. On the counter part. She was expecting directness because that's how she grew up with. So the frustration on both of our sides is like, man, you're coming at me so hard right now. And she's like, I'm just talking like I always talk. Why aren't you giving me what I need, right? And so you might have a dissonance like that in relationships. And healthy communication brings that to light. But avoid passive communications. Directness is important because it brings clarity. Instead of saying, I don't know, I don't get it, I want you to get it. Just say, hey, babe, I miss you. I'm feeling a little distance, How about we go on a date night? Rather than, what were you doing today? Are you just going to sit around? Where are we going to go? No, say, hey, I want to spend some time together with you. I miss you. And can we do something together where we connect, right?
In the illustrious words of John Mayer, say what you need to say.
Yeah. Say what you need to say.
Yeah, I wasn't going to sing it.
Say what you need to say.
The third...
The secret for John Mayer impression is just a lot of air. Say what you need to say. Say what you need.
The third pitfall of communication is to avoid premature conclusions.
Premature conclusions. Like now you can go on the gym clothes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, listen. For most,
okay, go ahead.
Of my pitfall in communication has probably been this one. Is that I know exactly why you did what you just did. Look, I have learned to, instead of making my conclusion, and especially what I have learned is intention. I have to assume that his intention was not to hurt me. I have to assume that his intention was not to just irk me, except when he leaves an empty milk can container in the fridge.
That's
he did
a
it
practical prank.
I know.
I promise you, there is not an empty container of yogurt in the fridge right now that I emptied this morning.
There is. I know there is. He does it to irk me. Anyway.
She goes for that yogurt and she opens it, it's empty. It's awesome.
So to avoid premature conclusions, meaning what? Hey, I know his intention wasn't to bother me or to irk me. Then help me understand, right? So what I do is I walk up to him when he does something, like I'm joking with the laundry, but this actually happened in our house. He put the laundry, like the bin was right there, and he put it right there on the floor. I was like, no, this makes no sense. Like, I know there's something behind. Like, why would he do this, right? And I asked him, I said, hey, help me understand, why did you put the laundry on the floor instead of in the bin? And he had a reason. Go ahead. You want to share your reason?
I have a reason, yes. I'm going to have to get personal. Not too graphic, but I have to tell you the reasoning behind. So when I go to the gym, I don't like showering or changing at the gym. I don't like public restrooms, public showers. I don't do well with them. I come home sweaty, smelly, I'm sorry, and in a normal circumstance, because I'm not germophobic at all, I am germ conscious, and I'm conscious of smells and things and all of that. So in a normal circumstance, I would probably have some kind of setup where I come in through the laundry and the clothes already go straight into the machine, and I find my way to the shower and it's done. But I have daughters at home, and it's not always feasible to do that. So I come in with my gym clothes, and when I go to shower, here's what was happening. The way we have it set up, in our shower, you have her clothes, like it's 2 rooms, right? The shower and the sink is here. I'm giving a full picture now.
I see.
And then my clothes are here in this little cubby, and she has a semi-walk-in closet that's,
It's not that big, guys. It really
semi-walk-in
is.
closet.
You can't walk in, you can stand in.
Let me rephrase that. My clothes is here in the corner.
Whatever. You can stand in it.
Like in this space right here. And then she has a semi-walk-in closet.
I'm never doing this again.
But listen.
Never.
But listen, yeah, never. Yeah, generalities. But the what is the name of the thing? Not the bin, like the hamper. Thank you. The hamper, because it's a specific bin. It's just as any bin. Okay. The hamper is inside her closet.
See? My closet
so I'm
stores the hamper.
I don't want to put
things.
smelly clothes in your closet so that when you go in there, it smells like my gym clothes. I'm going to put it on the floor outside your closet It looks a little messy, but guess what? It's going to go straight in the machine so that your closet is not smelly.
See, it's thoughtful.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is there was
And in my mind, it's like, how could you not get to that conclusion?
How?
It's very simple to me that to put in the... I'm sorry, guys. I don't talk like that.
But when I asked, I understood, and it made all the difference.
But
right?
she was very calm when she asked. It wasn't
Like,
accusatory or anything. She was like, hey, help me understand something. There was a little building up, depending on the answer. Why do you do
I was
that?
ready.
Yeah.
I was ready for whatever answer came.
Yeah. Proverbs 18:13 says this, and you got to highlight the scripture, all right? To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. What does that mean? To draw conclusions before you ask the question. To think that you know the answer because you're so smart or because you already know the person. To think that you can already read them. It's folly and shame. You can avoid a lot of pitfalls by not jumping to conclusions, not buying a jumping to conclusions mat, you know? Mm-hmm. That's an old reference. Some of you got it. Mm-hmm. It's all right. Yeah, you got it. Communication as the antidote to resentment. Let me just close with this thought. We're going to have some food. We have some light food for you in the cafeteria, so you can hold you over for our team rally. But I want to close with this idea. You can react to the things that affect you negatively with honesty and openness, or you can react to the things that affect you negatively with resentment. Some of us are prone to resentment. Somebody presses a button just the right way, it hurts. And you don't want to be honest about it. And when it hurts, sometimes you're prone to just nurse that hurt and that pain in the wrong way, and resentment can build. Now, I want to warn you against it because this is what I've learned. Resentment breeds dark fantasies as a necessary road of deliverance from self-betrayal and resentment itself. I know it's a mouthful, but just give that some thought. Resentment breeds dark fantasies. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, maybe this kind of life would be better than what I have right now. Your spouse talks to you a certain way, or you're going through a certain difficulty. Oh, maybe, why am I even, maybe if I were in a different relationship, or I wonder what my life would have been like if I had married that other person. Or, man, I wish I was single right now. Or I wish this person wasn't in my life right now. Resentment can build dark fantasies. Not just in relationships, in every area. That's why horrid atrocities happen in our world. Whenever you think about, really terrible things that happen, and you think, how could a person get to that point? Resentment was the root of it. But specifically in relationships, it breeds dark fantasies. And if you keep feeding it, the fantasies will only get darker. Because you think that the road to deliverance from the feeling of self-betrayal, how could I let him do that to me? How could I let him talk to me that way? How could I let her think that she's all that? How could I? It leads you to a sense of self-betrayal. And resentment makes you think of things to get away from that situation and to get away from resentment itself. Maybe if I do that, I won't feel this way, and I can show him and I can show her. And so what you begin to do, machinations of, okay, so simple examples. You embarrass him at a dinner party. Why? I know, it was just a joke. No, it wasn't a joke. You were carrying resentment, and you were disrespectful on purpose because you wanted to hurt. Oh, I'm just going to stay out late, and who cares? I'm not going to give her a time of day or give him a time of day. I'm going to do whatever I want. What is that? Is you standing up for yourself? No, it's resentment. Something happened that you didn't address. There wasn't healthy communication resolving it, so you're lashing out in resentment. I'm going to go shop and I'm going to max the credit
card.
cards. You can talk on that. You want to talk on that? You've never done it.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
But I mean, like he or she, right? Your person bought something without talking to you about it, or spent a certain amount of money. When you guys had agreed, you're saving, right? You agreed we're going to do this a certain way, we're going to do that, and they went and they spent, and you go, you know what? I'll show you. I'll go get my hair, nails, toes, everything. I'm going to wax. I'm going to do it all. Right? Because you could go, I'm going to get my share too. It's that thing of like, I'm going to have my way too. Yeah. I'm going to, there's this, you want to sting.
Back to the self-righteous point I made earlier. You think you're settling the score. Yeah. You think you're being righteous, but you're not. It's resentment doing the work. I want to hurt. I want to impel. I want to do the thing and make you feel like I'm feeling right now, so we're on the same plane, right? Maybe you're not taking care of yourself, and you're not sleeping right, and you're eating all wrong, and you wish you could go to the gym, but you can't. And sometimes it works that way. You're not living up to the standards that you set for yourself, so you don't let your spouse do it. They want to do the right thing, and you're like, no, let's do this other thing. Resentment can work in all sorts of ways. Here's the closing thought, moving on from that point. We classify things subconsciously either as tools or obstacles. This is really important too. There's this binary way that we deal with everything in our lives. Everything that you engage with, whether it's a relationship or a job or something, you will see that either as a tool or as an obstacle. And many times, one of the reasons people suffer in their marriage is because they see it as an obstacle. I've always been happy about my marriage. I can say that from here, from the get-go. I come from a family where my parents were happy about their marriage and my grandparents were happy about their marriage on both sides. So I understand that I have a heritage of faithfulness, and that I've seen health being an example in my life. Exemplified? That's a better one. My brain is faulty. And because of that, I know that we walked into marriage from that perspective. So I've always seen marriage as a tool.
You're a tool.
She planned on that joke. I was sharing this with her home. She was like, you're a tool. And then I started laughing. She was like, I'm going to do that tomorrow. Marriage is a tool. And I don't say a tool like that, all right? I don't mean it like that. Not as something that I use for myself, not as something that's for self-promotion or narcissism. I mean a tool as a way to build a great life. Something useful to build a great life. If you think marriage is an obstacle, oh man, I would have had a greater life if I weren't married. But look at how great I am. I'm sacrificing that amazing life that I would have had for you, honey. I would have been a way better man if it weren't for you. I love you so much. That's not honorable. That's not good. But sometimes we don't say it that way, but we live like that's true. Marriage
She's the ball and chain.
Yes.
Marriage
yes.
is the ball and
chain. Yeah. You tie the knot. You're chained down. All of these things that the world puts on you, those are lies. And you think that you live in that way. It's not good. So I want to encourage you to see marriage, good relationships, healthy relationships as a tool to build a wonderful life. And that has been true in my life. I can tell you for my life, it's because of marriage that I'm not promiscuous. It's because of marriage that I don't see women as objects. It's because of marriage that I understand unconditional love. It's because of marriage that I get to be a man in every sense of the word. It's because of marriage that I'm a better father, the best father I can be. It's because of marriage that I have someone to contend with my shortcomings, with my faults. That's really important. It's because of marriage that I'm never lonely. It's because of marriage that I'm a better learner. It's because of marriage that I'm a better friend, a better pastor. The person that you think you could have become if not for marriage in my life, that person is better. There's no way that I would have been better outside of marriage. And then marriage promotes things that I could never become if it weren't for marriage. This is really important. Now you can say, well, JD, I think there's a fault to your argument because I know plenty of people who are none of those things and they are married. Right? I get that. But here's the way we need to frame our minds. If marriage is a positive tool, we have to live up to marriage. And people who are in unhealthy marriages, it's not marriage's fault. It's not the institution. You're not living up to the standard of marriage. Marriage carries a high standard. And if you don't live up to it, you feel like you're failing it. And many people fail the standard of marriage. I want to encourage you today to see marriage as something positive. See, I pursue those things. It's true that if you don't pursue those things, you will not experience them. But in our lives, we both pursue those things. There are things that I'm sure you can say are better in your life because of marriage. I pursue my wife's counsel. I pursue her friendship. I pursue her companionship. I pursue this level of oneness. I even pursue her criticism. Sometimes her criticism pursues me, but I pursue her criticism. It's really important. So we want to encourage you today to make healthy communication the center of your marriage, the center of your relationships, so that you can have a healthy love.
Yeah,
right?
And that obviously applies to every relationship you're in,
Yes.
because a friend could become a bad communication with friendships means you're lonely as well.
Yeah.
Bad communication with your parents or with siblings, that means you end up lonely and hurt and bitter as well. So this kind of healthy communication should be a driving force of who you are and how you do life. And sometimes you're like, okay, well, what does that matter? We're in church. Why are we talking about this? Because it matters to God.
Yeah.
God has placed you in a body. God has placed you in a community.
Yeah.
Right? He wants you to interact with other people, and other people's lives also are affected by you.
Yes.
And so we are meant to grow in our walk with the Lord with one another.
Yeah.
And that impacts the way you communicate here with each other as well, and the teams you're a part of, the environment that you're in every day. So this is not just for, that message was for spouses, and let me just, put that later whenever I get married. Mm-hmm. To the single folks in the room, it matters to every relationship you have that you begin to nurture healthy communication now, as whatever stage of life you are in, because that affects, the entirety of your life.
Fantastic. So those are the thoughts we have for you today. Let us encourage you to not work from resentment. It's really important, and to use healthy communication as a tool to heal from resentment, to avoid resentment, as an antidote to resentment. And let us, continue to exercise that in our relationships, because if we do, we will see love become healthy. A healthy communication will undergird love and maintain it. It's the year of breakthrough. That's what we've been declaring in your life. And some of you, you've been stuck in a cycle in your relationship, maybe years in your marriage, where you haven't seen healthy communication really live up to its potential. Well, this year is the year of breakthrough. Today is the year of is the moment of your breakthrough. And we want to encourage you to allow this encouragement, this word, and even your moment in prayer with the Lord to cause you to see progress and to see growth in that area of your life. Do you believe that? Do you receive that? Yeah, we know you do. Amen. Amen. I want to pray for you today.